It was recently discovered that cargo links, also dubbed as trade routes, will be a major feature in Starfield, and that the crew you hire will directly influence the trade routes you have established between your outposts. And yes, you'll be able to build and manage more than one outpost in Starfield, and I've got all the new details on trade routes and outposts. Plus, I take a look at how Starfield's graphics have improved over last year's showcase, including major updates to the game's lighting engine and motion blur, and we'll also hear what Todd Howard has to say about these graphical improvements and how Bethesda partnered with id Software, developers of Doom, to make this all happen. And then I'm going to read your top comments from the previous video, which was all about how Starfield will fully support mods. So let's get started, fellow astronauts, and dive into the video. So some very interesting details about Starfield were recently revealed from the Xbox.com store, and we learn a lot about cargo links, also known as trade routes, in the video game's description. And let's take a look at what the description had to say. So it said, discover, collect, build. Explore planets and discover the fauna, flora, and resources needed to craft everything from medicine and food to equipment and weapons. Build outposts and hire a crew to passively extract materials and establish cargo links to transfer resources between them. Invest these raw materials into research projects to unlock unique crafting recipes. So this feature sounds very exciting, and cargo links in Starfield could be very similar to what we saw in the Fallout 4 settlement system, where you could link settlements together. In Fallout 4, players would benefit from linking settlements together, and then as a result, they would have the ability to access all items of all of the settlements that are linked by the supply lines. Now, of course, I'd imagine that Starfield's cargo link system, which I like to call trade routes, will actually be an evolution of Fallout 4's settlement system, and it already sounds like it is from the game's description. And Charlotte on Reddit said, great, I can now have little factories and outposts everywhere. And then Akeetle Beetle said, sandwich factories. Yes, you can never have too many sandwiches. And now let's talk about how Starfield's graphics have seen a big improvement from last year's gameplay reveal. And if this year's Starfield Direct showcase told us anything, it is that the year delay for Starfield has benefited the game significantly and was well worth the wait. First, the lighting in many areas has been updated, and as you can tell, the new improvements look great. Also, Todd Howard recently spoke in an interview with IGN and revealed that id Software, the developers behind Doom, helped Bethesda for the last year to improve Starfield's graphics. This also included making the motion blur smoother, which also translates into a better feeling game when playing on the controller or mouse. And here's what Todd Howard had to say about it. He said, in Starfield, we redid the combat ourselves and it really feels great. But id has helped us really more on the graphics side. So when we get into motion blur, it's about how the game feels smoother. Some other things included what they do in id Tech that we wanted to bring over into Creation Engine 2, and id Software helped us do that, and it's great. End quote. And of course, Creation Engine 2 is the engine powering none other than Starfield. So this is great news to hear, and really goes to show that the year delay from 2022 to 2023 has benefited the game big time, which in turn is going to benefit us all. Of course, the game does still run at 30 frames per second on the Xbox Series X and S, and it will be 60 frames on PC, depending on your PC specs, of course. But we have to remember how complex the systems are in this game, from building your own ship and outposts to 1,000 procedurally generated planets with handcrafted assets, custom characters, and so much more. Now, I'm not making an excuse for the 30 frames per second, but we have to keep this all in mind. Now, the good news is that IGN reports that the game felt very stable on Xbox Series X, and Todd Howard even revealed that there's quite a bit of headroom with the 30 frames per second, even though it is locked at 30 frames per second on Xbox Series S and X. But this just means that players really shouldn't experience any dip in frame rate from the 30 frames if they are playing on console. And hopefully this frame rate remains consistent, of course, across all the planets and areas in the game, regardless of if you're on Xbox or on PC. And I guess we really won't find out until launch day. And now it's time to go over your top comments from the previous video, which was all about how Starfield has been confirmed to fully support mods and the modding community, which is freaking awesome because, as you all know, this could result in endless mods for Starfield. And this is what Gary Goldman said in his comment. He said, Bethesda supporting mods is one of the greatest decisions Bethesda has ever made. It gives their games a whole new life and infinitely more replay value, and I could not agree more. I think more games should definitely do this, of course. As you know, games that have mods really survive the test of time. Just look at past Bethesda games like Fallout 4, like Skyrim. These games have had so many mods and have built up such a dedicated modding community that they're still talked about today, and these games were released way long ago. And now let's take a look at what Prismatic had to say in their comment. They said, the potential with ships and modding could be huge. Imagine if modders are able to make their own custom ship pieces. That would be insane, and I could see that easily becoming one of the most modded parts of the game. Totally agree with this, and not only will there probably be entire ships modded into the game, but the fact that the actual individual ship pieces could be modded too will be just crazy. I cannot imagine that. And my guess is that people will mod these ship pieces into different sets, like a Star Wars mod set, maybe a Star Trek set, maybe something from Battlestar Galactica, and so on. So again, so many things they could do with it. And I also saw someone mention that they wanted to see a Pirates of the Caribbean mod set as well, which would be hilarious too, especially with the whole spaceship pirate theme of Starfield. So honestly, it would probably fit. And last but not least is Burial's comment, who says, would be cool if they could give one of the planets to a group of modders, allowing them to populate it with settlements and other content, and then release that as an official free DLC or something in the future. I don't know how something like that would work in terms of technical details, but I think it would be an interesting idea. And this would be really cool to see. Now, I do have to mention that Todd Howard will be speaking more about modding in the near future. He did indicate that in past interviews, so I'm expecting even more news and features for modders in the near future. How far will the support go for modders has yet to be seen. If the past is any indication with Bethesda, we can expect some major mod support from the developers for sure. And that's going to do it for the video, fellow astronauts. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe because I'll be doing a lot more on Starfield. There's plenty of more news and updates coming up before Starfield releases in September. And I'll see you in the next video, fellow astronauts.